How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about individuals like Jonathan Capehart, the guy who wrote this article that you see right over my left-hand shoulder. Ron DeSantis' monkey comment was just the start of his racist dog whistling. Now, the reason why we're talking about the guy who wrote this article is because I'm tired of black men being represented in the mainstream media as soft, weak, and effeminate, unable to defend ourselves, mad at every little comment that's made, overly sensitive for no reason, trying to find an offensive statement where there is no offensive statement. I'm tired of it. Now, to speak about this guy before we get into the actual article, this man, Capehart, is literally married to the white man, literally. And I'll place a picture of him and his husband on the screen before you. So you got guys like this that always seem to pop up. Don Lemon, another one. Don Lemon, I'm not sure if he's married or not, but he does date white men. So this is just a kind of a recurring thing you see. You know, I'm just tired of it because, you know, the average man, regardless of what color they are, does not feel this way. We're not so soft. We're not so weak. We're not so effeminate to get mad at every little thing. If you're a woman, I can understand that's a whole different story. But even then, I'm still kind of critical. But a man to behave this way is not natural. It's not normal. Now, I'm not saying if you're a homosexual, that's somehow wrong. If that's your business, that's fine. But I'm just talking about the average everyday man. We don't think this way. That's just not what it is, regardless of color. But let's get into the article to see exactly what's going on here. And that's the guy right there, Jonathan Capehart, of course. And the article reads, Tallahassee Mayor Andrew Gillum's victory in a Democratic primary for Florida governor wasn't even 12 hours old when his Republican challenger, Representative Ron DeSantis, hurled a few now, because it wasn't just, like I said in the video before, it wasn't just the whole monkey comment people got triggered about. It was multiple things, including some of the things that he'll talk about here. Hurled a few race cars into the general election campaign. Of course, he did this during an interview on Fox News, the safe space for conservatives to wallow in demeaning stereotypes and petty grievances. Quote, let's build off the success we've had on Governor Rick Scott. DeSantis said, the last thing we need to do is monkey this up by trying to embrace a socialist agenda with huge tax increases and bankrupting the state. Now, monkey this up, obviously, like I said in the previous video, means to mess up. You don't want to put a socialist guy in there because that's going to be disastrous for the state. But if you're weak, soft, and effeminate as a man, you'll take that as some kind of offense. You'll take that as, oh, he was calling me a monkey, all this, that, and the third. Obviously, in context, he was saying no such thing. But again, if you get triggered so easily, then you'll take it that way. The article continues, the obvious slur here is monkey this up. Likening African Americans to monkeys, apes, and chimps is a racist pastime. He wasn't talking about Gillum. He was talking about the process. The same way that Barack Obama was talking about the process in the video I played before. He said the Republicans are not the only ones who have been known to monkey elections up. It's the same type of thing. You're talking about monkeying something up in elections. It's no difference. But the only way it's different is because Barack Obama is black and he said it, and DeSantis is not. And I continue. Since slavery, blacks were seen as not human or less than human. Unless you think that is a relic of some shameful past, remember that former President Barack Obama and his wife, Michelle Obama, were depicted in this manner throughout their 8 years in the White House. And DeSantis was already dog whistling mere seconds before he went full bullhorn. Gillum is an articulate spokesman for those far left views, and he's a charismatic candidate. I watched those Democratic debates. None of that was my cup of tea. But he performed better than the other people there. To me, and to most people that just think logically, that is a very nice compliment. He's being gracious. He's like, look, he spoke very well. He did a good job. He blew the other guys out the water. He was the best candidate that came out due to his performance. I say the same thing about Trump. When I was watching the debates before the primaries or whatever, or during that particular point in time, during the 2016 campaign, I'm looking at the way Trump is performing versus a guy like Ben Carson, Rand Paul, and I'm judging their energy levels. I'm judging their engagement with the crowd, engaging with each other. And obviously, Trump was the better performer. And that's what I was saying back then. So if you can look at a guy like Trump and say he's a better performer out of all the candidates that he ran against, then why is it somehow a problem when you say that when you're talking about Gillum, it's the same exact thing? The only difference here is the races of people that are involved, but I digress. Ask any African Americans how they feel about being called articulate. Now, I'll pump your brakes right there, boss. Ask any African Americans. You should speak for yourself because you do not represent all African Americans. First of all, your home life is uncommon. All right. I'm not judging you for being married to a white man. That's fine. But let's just be clear. Your home life is uncommon. Most men, period, that are married to women. Most black men that are married to black women. That's a fact. So you are uncommon just on the surface. So when you say ask any African Americans, you should say ask myself as an African American. Speak for yourself. Don't speak for all of us. But I continue. And also, I'm not African either. I've never been in Africa. I've been in America. My family has for hundreds of years. I'm an American. Happens to be black, but that's a different story. I hate it. Oh, you're so articulate. You're so well-spoken. I've heard it since my days at mostly white schools in New Jersey. It has been said to me in surprise, wondrous tones, the silent finish to what the speaker believes is a compliment for a black person, as if the outward manifestation of an education was some miracle instead of the same hard work they or their children put in. Most folks probably don't even realize that what they're saying to us is incredibly offensive. Those who do are deplorable to begin with. Well, right there, you gave the man an out. DeSantis, that is. If he said that Gillum is articulate and he performed very well, you just said that he may not necessarily know that he's being offensive. So how can you call him some type of racist or something else because of what he said? You just said that he may not even know. So how do you know if he knows or if he doesn't know? You're making an assumption that he was just intentionally trying to send a dog whistle or, like you said earlier, a so-called bullhorn. You have no way of knowing that. And to back up a little bit here, you may have some people that look at you as a black person and say, oh, well, you speak well for a black person. That happens. I mean, but that's not necessarily a common thing. And even if it is a common thing, let's talk about what other things are common in the world, in the USA. All right. If you're a black person and you speak with some kind of clear speech pattern with proper diction in a so-called black community, you may be labeled as a white boy. You trying to sound smart, all this, that, and the third. That happens too. But we're not going to mention that, I suppose, because I guess blacks can't be racist. I guess blacks can't be bigoted. It's only the big bad white man that you're married to, but I digress. The other ugly DeSantis utterance was performed. Now, pause right here. I have heard people get triggered at the word articulate before, but I've never heard about anybody black being triggered by the word performed. Never in my life have I heard this. I think this is him just making it up right now. I could be wrong. If you've ever heard about this before, let me know in the comments below. And I continue. For certain people, the one thing, and maybe the only thing blacks excel at is performing, entertaining other people. Unless you're in the same line of work as Beyonce or Jay-Z, the quote compliment is as dismissive as it is patronizing. Now, let's pause right here. Like I said earlier, Trump performed very well during the 2016 election against everybody else. When you have a stage and you have a microphone, you have a podium, and you are competing against other people, if you have the best showing, what do you call that? Do you call it a performance? Why not? I mean, we've seen debates where people are sweating and stuff like that. They have a poor performance. All right. When you go to work and you do a particular job, you can have poor performance, good performance, or whatever. You're talking about tests. You're talking about PE class. You're talking about sport, whatever it is. If you're going against other people, whether it be in academics, whether it be in sports, whatever the case may be, performing is a word that is used to talk about how well you did or how poorly you did. It's not to say that you can only perform in the context of a sport or a thing that's non-academic. You see what I'm saying? But even if he was talking about a thing that's non-academic, it doesn't matter. You can have a good performance in a political sense. that doesn't necessarily apply to an academic sense. All right. Barack Obama performed very well during his campaign and afterwards because he's a smooth guy. He can speak very well. I'll tell you right now, as a guy that does not like Obama and is a big Trump supporter, that Obama is a better performer on stage than Trump is because he's more smooth, more charismatic. Trump is not a good speaker, but it doesn't even really matter. Trump performs poorly at speaking, but Barack Obama excels, but Trump performs better in actually doing his job than Barack Obama did. It's really simple. Don't get triggered at the word performing. Like, I was talking about this before this article came out, and I was like, I bet you this boy is going to write a list of things that are offensive, and here we are. Bare knuckle talk is nothing new in politics, but when the president of the United States is a low-brow brawler whose ongoing rhetorical descent started when he kicked off his campaign by calling Mexicans rapists, he did not do such thing. Brazen is the fitting word to describe Republicans seeking high office these days, or even radio hosts. Let's continue. Where Gillum performed well was at the ballot box on Tuesday, which was no accident. So, I mean, are you using performed in quotes because you're trying to say it in an ironic way, or is it the word that goes right there? I mean, you don't need the quotation marks right there. If you just remove the quotation marks, that word fits fine in that sentence. It doesn't matter who writes it. You are black man, Jonathan Capehart, but it doesn't matter what color you are. That word fits. But I digress. If you listen to my interview with the mayor back in June, you learned who he was and what he was trying to do. You knew it was a long shot, but you weren't nearly as surprised by his victory as the rest of the country. And what has been nearly as offensive as DeSantis' race baiting has been the simplistic coverage of Gillum's victory. Actually, it has been lazy, and I'll get into that in my next post. I mean, I'm not really sure what you want people to talk about. I don't know too much about this guy, Andrew Gillum. So what should be said? What should be said that has not been said so far, Mr. Capehart? I don't really know. But I'm going to close out with this. Jonathan Capehart, Don Lemon, all these individuals on television, your LZ Gunnarsons, these people don't represent the average black person. See, we are not all the same. We're not a monolith, and we're definitely not all homosexuals married to white men. We're definitely not that. So don't act like you speak for everybody in the so-called black community or all so-called people of color. Speak for yourself. Look, you can feel that way, and that's totally fine, but don't assign it to me, because you guys who think this way tend to dominate media, and then that makes people think that everybody black must fall in line to what you guys think. All right? It's weird people say that we're not a monolith, we're not all the same. That gets used to defy so-called racist. But then if you want to think differently in the so-called black community, you get thrown under the bus, you get called types of names. It's really weird. But to close it on out, we're not all this sensitive. We're not all this soft and thinking that every little thing that's said, positive, negative, anywhere in between, that can be up for discussion. We're not so soft to think that these things are all microaggressions, and we just can't get beyond our fifis to be able to accept a compliment or to be able to not see a thing as disrespect. So what do you think? Do you think that these guys like Jonathan Capehart and others are selling in the name of men in general, especially black men, when they talk about things in a racial way? Do you think that Jonathan Capehart and all these other guys are right about race and microaggressions and stuff like that? Whatever your comments are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.